Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Business Strategist with myself, Adam Strong, of course. Super pumped, super excited. What I'd love to do as well is today what we could be doing is we're going to be covering a topic which I believe is so important in business, right? It doesn't matter how much branding you have, how much marketing you have, how many lead magnets you create, what offers you put out there. But without this key piece of information, it is completely and utterly pointless. Today, we're going to be talking about how to create clarity in your business. Now, it's interesting because over the last week or so, actually, I've had numerous conversations with people that lack that direction. And it might be because they have transitioned out of a previous career, or they may have come from a different industry. But generally, what tends to happen is that when you come from a different industry, you're speaking to a different audience, especially if you're coming from corporate, actually, or you've come from a job. Having the inexperience of being able to connect with your audience and getting that visibility and traction is really important. But again, if you don't know who you're speaking to, why you're speaking to, and how you can help them, it makes things a little bit tricky. Feel free to put any of the comments in the comment section below here. We're streaming out here on LinkedIn, of course. And if you are fortunate to listen to this on the podcast, congratulations. Make sure you reach out to me as well. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Anyway, let's get into today's session, creating clarity. So I'm going to basically break this down into three main steps. So we've got who, what, and how. Okay. Now I want to break this down into really simple and easy, concise steps. So when we create clarity, we need when we want to create clarity and create direction, it's going to help us create all of the things that you want to create with regards to branding, with regards to lead magnets, with regards to offers. We've got to get this right. This is the core foundation of running a business, right? Getting that clarity and direction in your mind. Because as I say to everybody, and I said this to a couple of my calls this week, is that a confused mind never buys. You'll tend to find that there are what I call flags or warning signs that if things aren't working the way that you want them to work, generally what happens is that lead generation isn't as strong. Your pitch is very distorted, which means it can sound very waffly. It can also mean when you are speaking is that it isn't resonating with your key audience, right? Especially when you're speaking with people, whether it be on a networking situation or even if you're here on LinkedIn. It's extremely important that people get you. There's this kind of like connection between you and your audience, and you're not focused on appealing with everybody. Okay, the focus is to make sure that what you're saying is resonating with your key audience. Right, let's dive straight in because I want to make this clear, concise. So I hope you've got your pens and paper handy because I'm gonna drop some value bombs that hopefully you'll get some value from today. So let's talk a little bit about the who. Okay, so I'm going to use a story actually because I was actually speaking with a lovely lady this week that I met last week in London, and one of the things that she said to me, she come from a previous industry, and she's moved into kind of the health and well-being sector. And the problem is that she had so many different skills, right? So many different experiences. And the problem is that she didn't know who she was actually speaking to. She didn't know if she was speaking to a B2B or a business, or she didn't know if she was speaking to an individual, a B2C concept. Now, I'm not really kind of a big fan of the whole B2B, B2C analogy, but we'll just use that for simplicity because there will always be a human being on the other end of that. So one of the things that I gave some tips and advice is who is the actual person that you want to speak to? Like who is the actual audience that you want to speak to? If you have someone in your mind, and the other thing is you have to think about is when you have someone in your mind, like why them? Why specifically them? Like if it's that you want to go after high net worth individuals, why them? If you want to go after lawyers, why them? If you want to go after financial advisors, why them? Like Why is it that they resonate with you? And why do you think that they resonate with you? Like what is the vice versa here? So who is the audience that you actually want to speak to? Now, rather than kind of going through the basic stuff, which we'll do, I'm going to give you some advanced tips as well, if that's okay. When we think about the audience or the person that we want to speak to, I want you to think about their behaviors. I want you to think about their psychology, the way that they think and the way that they feel. And why do they feel the way they feel at the moment, okay? Because if you can understand that, then people are going to feel that there's a sense of empathy and resonation with you. So this is all about how do you position yourself as the go-to person for that audience, okay? How do you create that connection? And the best way is to make sure that you're using a language that they understand. So taking out all the jargon and things like that, but highlighting fears, highlighting pain points, highlighting challenges, and coming from a place of empathy where you understand them and they understand you, but you are a solution creator. One of the tasks that I do with a lot of my clients actually is to really get a good understanding of them, is to go onto Google and actually print a picture of them, put it on your fridge. And I use what we call the best friend case scenario, where you know everything about them. You know about their core values. Why is it that their values match your values? What is the attraction? What is the magnetism there? What lifestyle do they lead? It's important to understand the lifestyle that they lead. Do they live a very wealthy lifestyle? Do they spend more than what they earn, type of thing, right? What are the behaviors that they have? Do they go to the gym on a regular basis? Do they belong to the local golf club or association? Do they eat healthy? Are they vegan? Right? So all of these, when we think about the who, we think about not just demographics in terms of location. We think about the behaviors and the personality. So are they more predominantly logical, left-brained, or are they predominantly right-brain creatives? Are they more direct speaking? Are they more risk adverse people? So all of these things that you need to take into consideration of understanding who is it that you're actually speaking to, because the message that you create is going to be specifically for them. You're not going to attract everybody. And I say this to everyone, right? Don't compare yourself to other people. I know it's easier said than done, but try to not judge yourself. Not everyone is going to want to work with you. And last week was a classic example of that. I had someone that approached me and said, hey, I really love what you do. But, and then we jumped on a call. I gave some great pointers and that kind of stuff. It wasn't a good fit. And the reason it wasn't a good fit is because he just wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for the next high level. And it was more to do with the mindset more than anything else. Because a lot of the clients that I'm working with, they've got some experience. They've been through a lot of challenges as an adversity and things like that. You have to go through those to create that mindset. So no strategy is going to work without having some built-in mechanism of resilience and mental toughness. You've got to go through those, making mistakes and not being afraid and, things like that, really. So self-awareness is extremely important. So the other thing around who is, what are the patterns? What patterns do you see them doing? And when I say patterns, what I mean is, what are the self-sabotaging habits that you see them doing? Sometimes they can be aware and sometimes they're not aware, but you're aware of those self-sabotaging habits. So that's the first section, right? Is who is the who? The who's, all right? That's the first section. The second section is the what. What are the challenges? What are the problems? What are the pain points? What are the things that keeps them up at night? Now, depending on what your industry is, it's going to depend on, kind of what umbrella that comes under. So if you're, for example, a personal trainer, so now if you want to distinguish yourself between you and other personal trainers, and you might specialize in pain management, for example, right? So you might help clients between 30 and 50 years old that suffer from lower back pain. So what keeps them up at night? Their back pain keeps them up at night. Right? That keeps them up at night. And it creates insomnia, it keeps anxiety. They're in consistent pain. So that's what keeps them up at night. There's a good understanding of that. Now, if you're a financial advisor, it could be that your client's pain points is that they're worried that they're not going to have enough pension in their pension fund when they're older or retiring. That could be what keeps them up at night. It could be that the fact that they're worried about the economy. They're worried about the fact that interest rates are going to keep on increasing, and they're worried if they're earning enough money in order to cover what they need to cover. So list down all of those key problems, list down all of those key challenges that your clients are experiencing. So what are they? List them all down. There's not just one or two. I really want you to think about really kind of what causes anxiety, what causes stress, what causes fear in the hearts or in their heart, what causes those fears, what is the worst case scenario, what is the best case scenario, what is those things. If you're a family lawyer, for example, right, what's keeping your client up at night? They're worried about the financial implications when it comes to separation. If you're an architect, for example, you're working for a client, what's their key problem? The key challenge is that the developer would be worried if the architectural drawings are not compliant, and it's going to take a lot longer to finalize everything in order to get from start to finish. So it's time consuming. So think about everything, right? Don't just think about the basics. I want you to think about everything and covering all of those. So that's the second point, which is the what. And the third point is the how. So the how is effectively your methodology. How do you alleviate their pain? How do you remove those obstacles, roadblocks? How do you make them feel better? So I always use the analogy of clients are always willing to buy something which is going to be convenient for them or is going to help them feel better. So it's going to be convenient, it's going to help them save time or money, and it's going to make them feel better. So what is it how could you then create something based around what they're currently experiencing? So I use this as an example. I'm going to use this as a rhetoric. So I'm a tax advisor. Say my clients are expats. Use that as an example. Those are my who's. I have a good understanding of who my who's are. They're worried if they're going to be compliant with HMRC. How am I going to create a service? I'm going to ask them, what are they looking for specifically, apart from peace of mind? Because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for peace of mind. How am I going to serve that peace of mind to them? I'm going to offer them a subscription model. Is it that I'm going to offer them a ongoing service? Is it a one-off? So how could you get feedback from that audience? How could you help them? I always find that when you're first starting this out is to use 5 or 10 client or potential people as guinea pigs, all right? And ask them, right? If you don't know the answers to any of this, don't guess this, because this is a real amateur mistake, all right? Around assuming what you think your clients or your audience is going through. But in reality, it's completely different to what you made out. So I want you to actually go out and do some research if you haven't already done so, okay? Really have some great conversations. And LinkedIn's just a great opportunity to have conversations with people, right? And find out what they're experiencing. And there's over 1 billion people over on LinkedIn. Creating a methodology, creating a 5-step model, creating a 12-month program, whatever it might be. Depend on what your industry is. It's going to depend on how you, rather than creating something just because based on assumption, is to actually position it in a way where you need to find that there's a market for what you actually offer. So that's the first thing, is to test those conditions, find that there's a market. Secondly, before you launch something, is to create a waiting list. And we'll talk about this in a little bit more depth and detail a bit further on. But creating a waiting list. So you're thinking about launching something, you haven't actually done it, but you're creating a waiting list and you're offering value and bonuses to people that come on board and test it out. If you're a software company, for example, and you've got, say, an app or a piece of software, wouldn't it make sense for you, before you went out and spend lots of money on marketing and PR around your big, amazing, fantastic piece of software or new app, okay? Wouldn't it make sense for you to try to place that piece of software or app in the best possible position? so that you can iron out all the glitches, so that you can think about that you're covering all of the bases, that it's serving its purpose. So you'd probably have a small pilot group or a trial group so you can get feedback from them. They would be able to get access to the service for free. And maybe you could offer them a discount when the service goes fully live. Offering a consultancy service, being a lawyer. See, it's no different, right? You may want to launch a course, for example. You want to offer, you want to get some feedback. Feedback is going to be so crucial. Once you've made some subtle changes, you can fine tune, make some improvements, and then you can create that waiting list and you can use those testimonials and social proof to prove that what we've got here is it's great. It actually works. This stuff actually works. So I hope this is kind of giving you some ideas. I don't want to, whether it be on LinkedIn or on the podcast, when they talk about building brand, building lead magnets, getting more sales in, conversions, that kind of stuff. All that's great. But it comes later on. Without the clarity piece, you're stuck. Remember, the clarity piece is like the main missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle, missing from your methodology. Listen, I hope this is kind of like resonating with you. I hope this is kind of giving you some ideas about trying to create that clarity. So if you're interested in learning more, feel free to reach out to me. Of course, if you want to learn more about how to create clarity in your business, feel free to reach out to me. Make sure that you follow me here over on LinkedIn and on YouTube, of course. And also make sure that you subscribe to the Business Strategist podcast, of course, which is on Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music. So feel free to make any comments down here. Say hi, engage. If you feel this may help others as well, tag this with somebody. I'd really greatly appreciate that as well. For me, myself, Adam Strong, really greatly appreciate you today, ladies and gents, and hopefully we'll see you soon. You take care of yourself and see you soon. Cheers now.